You unknowingly hurt your soulmate's heart. Do this before it's too late. Don't scroll. Listen to this. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now, because if you felt a sudden pause inside your chest when you read that title, that wasn't coincidence, that was resonance, the universe tapping you on the shoulder saying pay attention, something sacred is unfolding, and listen closely. There was a moment you didn't recognize as important at the time. A silence that lasted too long, a tone that sounded colder than you meant, a delay that felt small to you but heavy to them, and your heart needs this right now because soulmate connections are sensitive. They feel energy before words, intention before explanation, emotion before logic, and when that moment happened, your soulmate didn't explode in anger or create drama. They quietly withdrew, protecting themselves, hoping you would notice, hoping you would feel the shift, hoping you would come back with warmth. And don't scroll, because this is where destiny steps in. The universe doesn't allow soulmate wounds to go unnoticed for long. That's why you've been seeing strange signs lately, repeating numbers like 111 showing up when you think about them, 222 appearing when you question whether you should reach out, 44 flashing when your heart feels heavy. These are not random patterns, they are spiritual alerts saying something needs healing. And listen to this, your soulmate's heart didn't break loudly, it cracked quietly, and quiet heartbreak is the most dangerous kind, because it creates emotional distance before physical distance, and your heart needs this right now because you're being awakened before it becomes permanent, before pride, fear, or overthinking builds walls that become harder to tear down. And don't scroll, because this awakening didn't come by accident. You were chosen to feel this now, to receive this message now, because divine timing is at work behind the scenes. And listen closely, your soulmate still carries love for you, even if they're acting distant, even if they seem cold, even if they pulled back emotionally. That withdrawal is not lack of care, it's self-protection. And your heart needs this right now because protection is a sign that the bond mattered deeply. People only guard what they value. And don't scroll, because you've been feeling this shift too, maybe through sudden memories, dreams where they appear unexpectedly, emotional waves that hit without warning, or that strange feeling like something unfinished is hovering in the air. And listen to this, unfinished energy always seeks resolution, and the universe is giving you the chance to become the one who brings healing instead of regret. And your heart needs this right now because healing doesn't start with grand gestures, it begins with awareness, humility, and emotional honesty, the willingness to say I may not have meant to hurt you, but I see now that I did. And don't scroll, because that simple awareness carries more power than you realize. It shifts timelines, it softens hearts, it reopens emotional doors that were slowly closing. And listen to this, your soulmate has been asking the universe quietly, not with words, but with tears, with late-night thoughts, with silent prayers, asking for a sign that you still care. And your heart needs this right now because you are that sign. Your awareness right now is the answer to that prayer. And don't scroll, because this is the moment where choice matters. You can ignore this feeling and let time create more distance, or you can lean into it and allow love to realign. And listen closely, leaning in doesn't mean chasing, it means softening. It means choosing compassion over ego, vulnerability over pride, courage over silence. And your heart needs this right now because soulmate love isn't about perfection, it's about repair, it's about two people choosing each other again after misunderstanding. And don't scroll, because the universe is watching how you respond to this moment, not to judge you, but to guide the next chapter of your love story. And listen to this, if you've been feeling called to apologize, to send a message, to check in, to speak your truth. That urge didn't come from nowhere, it came from alignment, from your soul remembering the importance of this connection, and your heart needs this right now because waiting too long creates emotional scar tissue, it hardens hearts, it makes reconnection more difficult, and don't scroll, because you are still within the window of possibility, the space where healing can happen gently instead of painfully, and listen to this, your soulmate doesn't need perfection from you. They need sincerity, presence, and emotional availability, and your heart needs this right now because you are capable of giving that, you wouldn't be receiving this message otherwise, and don't scroll, because this is part 1 for a reason, this is the awakening stage, the moment you realize that something important happened without your awareness, and now awareness has arrived, and what comes next will reveal exactly what you need to do emotionally, spiritually, and energetically to shift this connection back toward alignment, before time closes the door, so stay here, stay open, stay present, because the universe is not done speaking to you yet, and your soulmate story is still unfolding. Stay with this moment, because now the message moves deeper into the emotional current that's been flowing quietly beneath the surface, and listen closely, this message is for you, your heart needs this right now, because awareness alone is not enough, awareness is the doorway, but action is the bridge, and the universe is guiding you toward that bridge gently, without force, without pressure, but with clear intention. And what you may not realize yet is that your soulmate is still energetically connected to you, even if silence exists, even if physical distance remains, even if communication paused, the bond did not dissolve, it simply shifted into a quieter space, waiting to see if healing would arrive, and this waiting is not passive, it's emotional endurance, the kind that holds hope while guarding vulnerability. And your heart needs this right now because the longer unresolved emotion sits unattended, the heavier it becomes, turning simple misunderstandings into emotional weight that neither side wants to carry anymore, and the universe does not want you trapped in regret, it wants resolution, growth, and transformation, and that is why you are being prompted now, not later, not after more time passes, but now, while the emotional door is still open, and you may be feeling an internal pull toward reflection, replaying moments, remembering conversations, recognizing subtle shifts that you overlooked before, and this reflection is not meant to bring guilt, it is meant to bring clarity, the kind that allows compassion to replace defensiveness, humility to replace pride, understanding to replace assumptions, and clarity is powerful because it dissolves emotional fog, allowing you to see the situation with wisdom instead of reaction, and this wisdom is what will guide your next step, not impulse, not fear, but intention, and intention shapes energy, and energy shapes outcomes, and that is how destiny responds, not to perfection, but to sincerity, and sincerity begins with emotional honesty, the willingness to acknowledge what happened without minimizing it, without blaming circumstances, without hiding behind excuses, and this honesty does not require dramatic apologies or grand gestures, it requires presence, the ability to show up emotionally, to speak with softness, to listen without defensiveness, to allow vulnerability to exist without armor, and vulnerability is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form, because it allows healing to occur where silence once lived, and your soulmate has been longing for emotional recognition more than words, they want to feel seen, understood, acknowledged, not dismissed, not ignored, not brushed aside, and your heart needs this right now because recognition is the medicine that repairs emotional fractures, it tells the other person that their feelings mattered, that the connection mattered, that the bond was not disposable, and when recognition arrives, walls soften. Resistance fades, and space opens for reconnection, and this is the window you are standing in now, the space where energy is still responsive, where hearts are still reachable, where timing is still flexible, and the universe is asking you to step forward emotionally, not recklessly, not impulsively, but consciously, with intention, compassion, and clarity. And this step does not always mean direct communication immediately. Sometimes it begins internally, by forgiving yourself, by releasing shame, by letting go of defensiveness, by choosing growth over self-judgment, and this internal shift changes your energy, and when your energy changes, the dynamic between you and your soulmate begins shifting too, even without physical interaction, because energetic bonds respond to emotional intention, and intention creates movement, and movement creates opportunity, and opportunity opens doors. And this is why timing matters so much right now, because the universe is creating a narrow window where emotional alignment can occur with less resistance, where healing can happen gently instead of painfully, where reconnection can feel natural instead of forced, and you may notice subtle signals encouraging you forward, repeated thoughts about reaching out, dreams that bring unresolved emotions to the surface, sudden waves of empathy, moments where your heart feels softer than usual, and these are not random experiences. They are emotional guidance, directing you toward repair. Instead of avoidance, and avoidance once protected you, but now it is limiting growth, and growth requires courage, the courage to step beyond comfort zones, the courage to speak honestly, the courage to face vulnerability without retreating, and this courage is rising within you now, even if it feels subtle, even if it feels quiet, it is present, waiting to be activated, and when you choose courage, the universe responds by supporting your intention, aligning circumstances, softening emotional barriers, opening channels for communication and understanding, and this is how miracles happen in relationships, not through magic, but through aligned action guided by awareness, and your heart needs this right now because this moment will not repeat itself in the same way. Emotional windows shift, timelines move, opportunities evolve, and the universe is offering you a chance to change the direction of this story. To rewrite the narrative from misunderstanding into healing, from silence into clarity, from distance into emotional presence, and this is not about forcing outcomes, it's about choosing growth, choosing compassion, choosing emotional responsibility, and that choice carries weight, shaping the next chapter of your soulmate journey, and part 2 ends here because this is the activation phase. The moment when awareness begins turning into intention, and intention begins preparing the path for action. And what comes next will reveal the specific emotional shift you must make inside yourself before approaching your soulmate, the internal alignment that will determine whether healing flows easily or resistance remains. So stay open, stay present, and stay willing to grow, because the universe is guiding you step by step toward resolution and emotional truth. Remain present, because now the message moves into the inner transformation stage, the part of this journey where healing begins inside you before it ever reaches your soulmate, and listen closely, this message is for you, your heart needs this right now, because the universe is not only asking you to repair what happened externally, it is inviting you to shift something within your emotional core. Something that shaped how that moment unfolded in the first place, and that shift begins with awareness of your emotional patterns, the habits you developed to protect yourself, the defenses you built after past disappointments, the walls you learned to hide behind when vulnerability felt unsafe, and these patterns were not created out of cruelty. They were created out of survival, but what once protected you may now be limiting your ability to love freely, and your soulmate felt that limitation energetically, even if it was never spoken out loud, and this is why the universe is guiding you inward now, asking you to soften where you became rigid, to open where you became guarded, to trust where fear once dominated, and this inner work is powerful, because it changes your emotional frequency, and frequency influences the energy of every connection in your life, including this soulmate bond, and as you begin releasing old emotional armor, you may notice waves of emotion rising unexpectedly. Memories resurfacing, moments of sadness mixed with clarity, sudden compassion for yourself and for them, and these emotional movements are not weakness, they are signs of healing activation, the process of emotional recalibration that prepares you to approach connection from truth rather than reaction, and reaction once created misunderstanding, while truth creates clarity, and clarity builds bridges. And this stage is also about forgiveness, not only forgiving your soulmate for any pain they caused you, but forgiving yourself for not knowing better at the time, for acting from fear instead of awareness, for responding from habit instead of intention, and self-forgiveness is essential, because guilt creates emotional blockage, while compassion creates flow, and flow allows healing energy to move freely between hearts, and when you forgive yourself, your energy softens, your presence becomes warmer, your communication becomes gentler, and your soulmate can feel that shift, even without direct contact, because emotional bonds respond to internal transformation, and this is where spiritual awakening plays a role. The realization that love is not about control, not about perfection, but about growth, alignment, and mutual evolution, and awakening often begins with discomfort, the moment you realize something needs to change, but it does not end with pain, it ends with clarity and peace is what you are being guided toward now, not just peace with your soulmate, but peace within yourself, and as you cultivate that inner calm, you become more receptive to intuitive guidance, noticing subtle signs more clearly, repeating numbers appearing during moments of reflection, unexpected emotional clarity during quiet time, sudden understanding about what truly matters, and these signals are guiding you toward alignment, showing you where to focus your energy, where to release attachment, where to invest emotional intention. And this stage also invites you to strengthen your emotional boundaries, not walls, but healthy limits that protect your peace while allowing love to enter, because boundaries are not about shutting people out, they are about honoring your needs, and honoring your needs allows you to show up authentically instead of resentfully, and authenticity is what your soulmate has been craving, not perfection, not flawless behavior, but real presence, honest emotion, and emotional availability, and availability begins with being present with your own feelings, acknowledging them without judgment, allowing yourself to feel without suppressing, and this emotional presence creates space for deeper connection, because it removes emotional numbness and replaces it with awareness, and awareness is the foundation of healing, and as you move through this stage, you may notice changes in your daily life, feeling more grounded, reacting less impulsively, responding with more thoughtfulness, choosing words more carefully. And these shifts are reflections of inner transformation becoming visible externally, and your soulmate connection is not separate from this process, because energetic resonance responds to growth, and growth alters how two people relate to each other, even across silence, and this altered resonance is preparing the emotional environment for reconnection, resolution, or honest conversation, and this stage is also about surrendering control over outcomes, trusting that your role is to align emotionally, not to force specific results, and surrender does not mean giving up, it means releasing attachment to how things should look and allowing divine timing to unfold naturally, and divine timing responds to readiness, not impatience, and readiness is what you are cultivating now through inner work, self-awareness, and emotional responsibility, and this responsibility is powerful, because it shifts you from victim mentality into empowered presence, the ability to take accountability without shame, to acknowledge impact without self-blame, to grow without losing self-worth. And this empowerment is what allows healing to move forward constructively instead of destructively, and as this inner transformation continues, you may feel a sense of emotional lightness replacing heaviness, clarity replacing confusion, calm replacing restlessness, and these sensations indicate that alignment is strengthening, that emotional energy is recalibrating, that healing is integrating. And integration is what prepares you for the next step, the moment when internal change begins. Expressing itself through communication, action, or opportunity, and this next step will feel different from past attempts, because it will come from awareness rather than impulse, from intention rather than fear, from growth rather than habit, and part 3 ends here because this is the internal alignment stage, the moment where emotional responsibility, forgiveness, and self-awareness begin reshaping your energy, setting the foundation for the next phase, where outward movement becomes possible and the soulmate connection begins shifting toward resolution, healing, or reconnection guided by truth and maturity. Stay grounded, because now the journey moves into the outward reflection stage, the moment when your inner transformation begins creating visible ripples in the emotional environment surrounding this soulmate connection, and listen closely, this message is for you. Your heart needs this right now, because the changes you have been making inside yourself are not staying hidden, they are reshaping how you show up, how you speak, how you carry energy, and how others perceive you, including your soulmate, who is beginning to feel the shift without fully understanding why, sensing a softer presence, a calmer tone, a different emotional frequency that no longer carries the same tension from before, and this shift is powerful, because it signals readiness for healthier interaction, not the kind fueled by unresolved emotion, but the kind guided by awareness and mutual respect, and as this reflection stage unfolds, you may notice subtle opportunities presenting themselves, small moments that invite communication, unexpected chances to cross paths, situations that encourage emotional honesty, and these opportunities are not random, they are responses to alignment, the universe creating openings where healing can take place naturally instead of being forced, and forcing never works with soulmate connections, because force creates resistance, while flow allows truth to surface gently. And this gentle surfacing is what you are being guided toward now, not dramatic confrontations, not emotional explosions, but calm, intentional engagement that allows understanding to replace misunderstanding, and this stage also teaches emotional patience in a new way, not waiting passively, but staying present and observant, noticing how timing unfolds, how circumstances align, how intuition guides you toward the right moment to speak or act, and this awareness is sharpening now, helping you sense when energy feels open versus when it needs more space, and this sensitivity is a sign of emotional maturity, the ability to read emotional atmosphere without overanalyzing, to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively, and this maturity is shaping how the connection will evolve next, because it changes the dynamic from reactive patterns into conscious interaction, and conscious interaction creates stability, and stability allows trust to rebuild, and trust is essential for healing, because without trust, vulnerability cannot exist safely, and vulnerability is what your soulmate has been craving beneath their silence, not attention, not validation, but emotional safety, and emotional safety is created through consistency, empathy, and presence, not through perfection, and this stage is also inviting you to practice active listening, not only hearing words, but sensing emotions beneath them, noticing tone, energy, unspoken feelings. And this deeper listening allows you to respond with compassion instead of defensiveness, with understanding instead of assumption, and these responses create emotional repair, the small but meaningful moments where connection is restored piece by piece, and as this reflection stage continues, you may feel a growing sense of emotional courage, the willingness to initiate gentle communication, to express care without expecting immediate results, to show kindness without needing validation in return, and this courage is not about sacrificing yourself. It's about choosing love with boundaries, openness with self-respect, honesty with emotional balance, and this balance is what allows healing to occur without losing your sense of self, and this stage also highlights the importance of consistency, not one dramatic gesture, but steady, genuine effort, the small actions that demonstrate emotional availability over time, and consistency builds trust more effectively than intensity, because it shows reliability. And reliability creates safety, and safety allows hearts to open again, and this is the emotional environment that is being rebuilt now, slowly, intentionally, with care, and while this unfolds, you may notice symbolic confirmations reinforcing your direction, meaningful synchronicities, repeated numbers appearing when you reflect on connection, intuitive nudges guiding your decisions, and these signs are reminders that you are supported in this process, that your efforts toward healing are being amplified by universal alignment, and this alignment is not about guaranteeing a specific outcome, but about guiding you toward emotional truth, growth, and resolution, whether that leads to reconnection, closure, or transformation into a healthier dynamic, and this stage is also teaching acceptance, the ability to allow outcomes to unfold without clinging to specific expectations, trusting that what aligns with your growth will arrive, and acceptance creates peace, and peace allows clarity. And clarity helps you recognize when something is meant to continue and when something is meant to evolve into a different form, and this discernment is important, because soulmate connections do not always mean permanent partnership, sometimes they mean profound lessons that prepare you for deeper love later, and this awareness is part of spiritual maturity, understanding that every connection carries purpose, even when it changes shape. And as this reflection stage deepens, you may feel more grounded emotionally, less reactive, more thoughtful, more intentional, and these qualities will influence every interaction you have, not just with your soulmate, but with others around you, creating healthier communication patterns and stronger emotional boundaries, and this ripple effect is part of your awakening, the process of becoming more conscious of how energy, intention, and emotion shape reality, and this consciousness empowers you to choose differently, to respond with wisdom instead of habit, to act with clarity instead of fear, and these choices shape your future more than any external circumstance, and as this stage continues, you may sense that something is preparing to shift outwardly, a conversation approaching, a moment of clarity forming, an opportunity for emotional honesty emerging, and this anticipation is calm rather than anxious, steady rather than rushed, because it is rooted in readiness rather than desperation. And that calm anticipation is your sign that healing is integrating successfully, that alignment is strengthening, that the path ahead is becoming clearer. And part 4 ends here because this is the outward reflection stage, the moment when internal transformation begins influencing external circumstances, preparing the emotional environment for the next phase, where communication, action, or resolution will take center stage and the soulmate connection will move into its next meaningful chapter. Stay attentive, because now the journey enters the decisive movement stage, the point where emotional preparation turns into real-world expression and the universe begins inviting you to step forward with intention, and listen closely. This message is for you. Your heart needs this right now, because what you choose to do next carries weight beyond this moment, shaping the direction of your soulmate connection and the lessons it will bring. And while inner healing has softened your energy and external circumstances have started shifting quietly, this phase asks for conscious participation, not passive waiting, not emotional hesitation, but thoughtful engagement guided by clarity, and clarity is becoming stronger inside you, helping you recognize what truly matters, what kind of communication feels aligned, what tone reflects compassion instead of defensiveness, and this awareness is essential, because how you approach this next interaction will determine whether healing deepens or misunderstanding resurfaces, and this stage often brings subtle opportunities to act, a moment to reach out, a chance to respond differently, an opening to express sincerity without expectation, and these moments may appear ordinary on the surface, but they carry spiritual significance, because they are the bridges the universe places in your path, and whether you cross them with courage or retreat into comfort will influence the outcome, and your soulmate is also standing at a similar crossroads, feeling the urge to communicate, to clarify feelings, to step beyond emotional distance, and this mutual readiness creates potential for alignment, but potential requires action to become reality, and action does not mean forcing conversation or demanding answers, it means showing up with presence, empathy, and openness, allowing truth to unfold naturally instead of controlling the narrative. And this approach requires emotional strength, the kind that allows you to remain grounded while being vulnerable, to express care without sacrificing boundaries, to listen without interrupting, to speak without accusation, and these skills are part of the growth you've been cultivating, and now they are being called into use, and this stage is also about timing awareness, sensing when energy feels receptive, when emotional space feels open, when intuition signals readiness. And intuition has been sharpening through your inner work, becoming more reliable as you learn to quiet mental noise and trust subtle guidance, and this guidance may come as a calm nudge rather than a loud push, a gentle sense that now is the moment to take a step forward, and honoring that nudge is an act of alignment, because it shows trust in the process rather than fear of outcome, and fear once influenced your reactions, creating distance or silence. And now that pattern is being replaced with intentional engagement. And intentional engagement creates momentum, and momentum carries connection forward, and this stage also emphasizes emotional accountability, the willingness to own your part without self-judgment, to acknowledge impact without defensiveness, to speak from responsibility rather than justification, and accountability builds trust faster than excuses ever could, because it demonstrates maturity and respect is the foundation of sustainable connection. And your soulmate needs to feel respected emotionally, just as you do, and this mutual respect is what creates safety, allowing hearts to open again without fear of being hurt repeatedly. And as this decisive movement phase continues, you may notice heightened emotional sensitivity, becoming more aware of tone, energy, and unspoken feelings, and this sensitivity is not fragility, it is attunement, the ability to read emotional atmosphere and respond thoughtfully. And this attunement will guide you in choosing words that heal rather than reopen wounds, actions that support rather than confuse, and presence that comforts rather than overwhelms. And this stage also asks you to remain patient with the process, understanding that healing does not always happen instantly, that trust rebuilds gradually, that connection deepens through consistency rather than one dramatic moment, and consistency requires commitment, the willingness to show up emotionally even when it feels uncomfortable, even when outcomes are uncertain. And this commitment is not about chasing, it's about honoring the bond. Enough to give it sincere effort, and this effort will not go unnoticed by the universe, because intention combined with action creates alignment, and alignment attracts supportive circumstances, softens resistance, and opens pathways for communication and understanding, and this is how destiny responds, not through force, but through cooperation between free will and divine timing. And this stage is also teaching you to release the need for immediate validation, trusting that your actions carry meaning even if results are not instant, because seeds take time to grow, and emotional seeds are no different, and patience allows those seeds to develop roots, creating stability before visible change appears, and stability is important, because it ensures that whatever unfolds next is built on solid ground rather than emotional impulse, and as this phase progresses, you may feel moments of emotional courage rising unexpectedly, the strength to express something you've been holding back, the willingness to initiate conversation, the ability to say what matters without fear of rejection, and this courage is a sign of growth, the result of inner healing integrating into behavior, and behavior shapes reality, because how you act influences how others respond, and this response creates feedback loops that shape the direction of the connection, and this stage also invites you to remain flexible, allowing the connection to evolve naturally rather than forcing it into old patterns, because evolution is necessary for growth, and growth is the purpose behind soulmate connections, not just romance, but transformation, and transformation is happening now through conscious action guided by awareness, and as this decisive movement stage continues, you may sense that something important is approaching, a conversation, a moment of clarity, an opportunity to reset the emotional tone. And this anticipation is steady rather than frantic, grounded rather than anxious. Because it is rooted in readiness rather than desperation, and that grounded anticipation is your sign that you are aligned with the process, moving forward with wisdom instead of fear, and part 5 ends here because this is the action activation stage, the point where internal transformation and external opportunity meet, preparing the connection for its next major shift, where communication, resolution, or deeper understanding will shape the future of your soulmate journey. Stay steady, because now the journey moves into the integration stage, where the actions you begin taking start weaving into the emotional fabric of this soulmate connection, shaping new patterns and dissolving old ones, and listen carefully, this message is for you. Your heart needs this right now, because what happens after you step forward emotionally matters just as much as the step itself, and this phase is about consistency, presence, and emotional responsibility, not quick fixes or temporary gestures, but sustained awareness that creates lasting change, and as you move through this stage, you may notice subtle shifts in how conversations unfold, how silence feels lighter instead of heavy, how emotional tension softens into openness, and these changes are signs that healing energy is integrating into the connection, replacing misunderstanding with clarity and defensiveness with receptivity. And this integration requires patience, because emotional repair does not happen instantly, it grows through repeated moments of honesty, empathy, and intentional communication, and these moments are becoming more natural for you now, because inner growth has reshaped how you respond, allowing you to pause before reacting, to listen before speaking, to consider impact before expression, and this thoughtful presence is powerful, because it creates emotional safety. And safety is the foundation of genuine connection, allowing vulnerability to exist without fear, and your soulmate is beginning to feel this safety, sensing that something has shifted, that the emotional environment feels different, calmer, more supportive, less reactive, and this feeling encourages them to open up gradually, to share thoughts, to express feelings, to engage more authentically, and authenticity deepens connection, because it replaces performance with truth and replaces guarded interaction with emotional presence. And this stage is also teaching you discernment, the ability to recognize which emotional patterns deserve nurturing and which ones need release, understanding when to lean in and when to create space, when to speak and when to listen, and this balance is essential, because it prevents the connection from swinging between extremes of closeness and withdrawal, creating steadiness instead, and steadiness supports trust, and trust rebuilds slowly but powerfully, creating a foundation that can support deeper emotional exchange. And as this integration continues, you may feel moments of emotional clarity rising unexpectedly, sudden realizations about what truly matters, deeper understanding of your soulmate's perspective, compassion replacing resentment, and these realizations are signs of wisdom forming, the transformation of experience into insight, and insight allows you to respond with maturity rather than habit. And this maturity is shaping the future of this connection, because it changes the emotional language you speak, replacing blame with understanding, accusation with curiosity, silence with honest dialogue, and this shift in emotional language creates new relational patterns, and new patterns allow the bond to evolve instead of repeating old cycles, and evolution is the purpose behind this journey, not returning to what was, but creating something healthier, stronger, more aligned with who you are becoming. And this stage also invites you to remain emotionally grounded even when feelings intensify, because integration can bring moments of vulnerability, memories resurfacing, unresolved emotions coming up for processing, and grounding allows you to move through these moments without becoming overwhelmed, without retreating into old defenses, without shutting down emotionally. And grounding comes from self-awareness, breath, presence, and intention, the ability to stay connected to yourself while engaging with another. And this skill is becoming stronger now, allowing you to hold emotional space without losing stability, and this capacity is rare, but it is essential for sustainable connection, and as this phase unfolds, you may notice external circumstances reflecting your internal shift, people responding differently to you, conversations becoming more meaningful, opportunities appearing that align with your emotional growth, and these reflections are confirmations that alignment is strengthening, that your inner work is influencing your outer reality, and your soulmate connection is part of this reflection, responding to your growth with increased openness, curiosity, or engagement, and this engagement may appear gradually, not all at once, but through small moments of connection that build trust over time, and this gradual unfolding is healthier than sudden emotional intensity, because it allows both of you to adjust, integrate, and grow together without overwhelming the bond. And this stage is also about honoring your own needs while remaining open to connection. Maintaining boundaries that protect your emotional well-being, and boundaries are not barriers, they are guidelines that create safety and respect is what sustains meaningful relationships, and this respect begins with self-respect, the willingness to honor your feelings, your limits, your values, and when you honor yourself, others are guided to honor you as well, and this dynamic is becoming stronger now, shaping how your soulmate interacts with you, creating more balanced energy. Exchange, and balanced exchange prevents emotional burnout, allowing connection to remain nourishing rather than draining, and this nourishment is what your heart has been preparing for beneath the waiting, not just closeness, but emotional health, not just attraction, but mutual care, and as this integration stage continues, you may feel a sense of emotional stability settling in, a calm confidence replacing uncertainty, the knowing that you are handling this situation with maturity and intention, and this confidence is not arrogance, it is grounded self-trust, the belief that you can navigate emotional complexity without losing yourself, and this self-trust is guiding you forward, shaping your choices, influencing your communication, and supporting your growth, and growth is what allows destiny to unfold in alignment rather than chaos, and this alignment is what the universe responds to, matching your internal state with external movement, and this matching process is creating opportunities for deeper connection, honest conversation, and emotional resolution, and as this phase deepens, you may sense that a meaningful turning point is approaching, a conversation, a realization, or a moment of clarity that will define the next direction of this soulmate journey, and this anticipation is steady rather than anxious, grounded rather than rushed, because it is rooted in integration rather than impulse, and that steadiness is your sign that healing is taking hold. That emotional patterns are shifting, that the path ahead is becoming clearer, and part 6 ends here because this is the integration phase, the moment where action and awareness merge into new relational patterns, setting the stage for the next step, where resolution, deeper connection, or emotional clarity will move the soulmate story into its next chapter shaped by growth, honesty, and alignment. Stay open, because now the journey enters the resolution threshold, the point where emotional patterns begin settling into new form and the connection prepares to reveal its true direction, and listen closely, this message is for you, your heart needs this right now, because everything you have been doing internally and externally has been building toward this moment of clarity, the phase where truth becomes easier to express, understanding becomes easier to receive, and emotional honesty becomes easier to sustain, and this stage carries a quieter intensity, not dramatic chaos, but deep significance, because it determines whether this bond transforms into deeper connection, peaceful closure, or renewed alignment shaped by maturity, and while you may not yet see the full outcome, you can already feel the shift in emotional atmosphere, the heaviness lifting, the tension easing, the sense that something unresolved is finally preparing to settle, and this settling is important. Because unresolved emotion keeps hearts restless, while clarity allows peace to enter, and peace creates space for healthy communication, and healthy communication is what allows two people to meet authentically rather than through misunderstanding, and your soulmate is feeling this shift too, sensing the emotional environment soften, becoming less guarded, more receptive, less defensive, more reflective, and this receptivity opens the door for honest dialogue, not conversations driven by ego, but exchanges guided by mutual respect and understanding, and this stage is also teaching you emotional discernment, the ability to recognize what aligns with your growth and what no longer serves your evolution, understanding when to continue investing energy and when to release attachment, and this discernment is not about fear of loss, it is about honoring truth, and honoring truth creates alignment. And alignment attracts outcomes that reflect your emotional maturity, and this stage often brings moments of realization, sudden clarity about what you truly want from this connection, deeper understanding of your own needs, awareness of patterns that must not repeat, and these realizations are gifts, because they protect you from falling back into cycles that once caused pain, and instead guide you toward healthier dynamics built on communication, respect, and emotional availability. And as this resolution threshold continues unfolding, you may notice subtle external shifts. confirming internal change, conversations becoming easier, misunderstandings resolving faster, emotional tones softening, interactions feeling more natural, and these changes are reflections of alignment strengthening, and alignment influences behavior, shaping how you respond and how others respond to you. And this mutual adjustment creates opportunity for reconnection or closure that feels complete rather than unfinished, and this completeness is important, because incomplete emotional chapters linger in the subconscious, creating confusion and restlessness, while completion allows release, acceptance, and forward movement is what this journey has been guiding you toward all along, not remaining stuck in the past, not replaying old moments, but stepping into a new chapter shaped by growth and awareness. And this stage is also inviting you to practice emotional honesty with yourself, acknowledging what you feel without judgment, recognizing what you need without guilt, expressing what matters without fear, and this honesty is empowering, because it places you in alignment with your authentic self, and authenticity attracts authentic connection, whether that means rebuilding this soulmate bond in a healthier form or allowing it to transform into a lesson that prepares you for deeper love ahead, and both outcomes carry purpose. Because soulmate connections are not always meant to last forever in the same form, sometimes they are meant to awaken you, heal you, teach you, and guide you toward your highest emotional potential, and this awareness is part of spiritual maturity, understanding that love is not about possession, but about growth and alignment, and as this resolution threshold deepens, you may feel emotional courage rising again, the willingness to express final truths, to ask important questions, to clarify intentions, to speak from the heart without needing control over the response, and this courage is not about demanding outcomes, it is about honoring authenticity, and authenticity allows relationships to evolve naturally instead of remaining trapped in ambiguity, and this evolution is necessary, because stagnation creates emotional stagnation, while movement creates opportunity, and opportunity allows destiny to unfold in alignment with growth, and this stage is also teaching you surrender, not giving up on love, but releasing attachment to specific outcomes, trusting that what aligns with your highest good will emerge, and surrender creates peace, and peace allows intuition to guide your next steps, and intuition is becoming clearer now, offering subtle guidance through feelings, inner nudges, emotional awareness, and symbolic signs, and these signals are helping you navigate this threshold with wisdom instead of fear, and as this phase continues, you may feel a sense of emotional readiness settling into your body, the calm knowing that you can handle whatever truth arrives, whether it brings reconnection, closure, or transformation, and this readiness is powerful, because it frees you from emotional dependency, allowing you to choose connection from strength rather than need, and strength attracts respect, sincerity, and balanced energy exchange, and balanced exchange is what sustains healthy relationships, and this is what your heart has been preparing for beneath the waiting. Not just resolution, but emotional maturity, not just answers, but peace, and as this resolution threshold approaches completion, you may sense that a defining moment is near, a conversation, a realization, or an event that will clarify the direction of this soulmate story, and this anticipation is calm rather than anxious, steady rather than rushed, because it is rooted in integration rather than impulse, and that steadiness is your sign that healing has matured, that awareness has become wisdom, that growth has reshaped your emotional foundation, and Part 7 ends here because this is the resolution threshold stage, the moment where clarity prepares to step forward, setting the stage for the final movement, where destiny reveals the outcome shaped by everything you have learned, healed, and embodied along this journey. Remain calm and receptive, because now the journey enters the reveal phase, the moment when emotional truth steps forward and the universe begins showing you the results of everything you have learned, healed, and embodied. And listen carefully, this message is for you. Your heart needs this right now, because what is unfolding is not accidental, it is the outcome of alignment, awareness, and courageous emotional growth. And this phase feels different from all the others, not heavy with uncertainty, not charged with tension, but filled with quiet clarity, the kind that settles into your chest and tells you something meaningful is about to become real. And while you may not yet see the full picture, you can sense the shift, the emotional atmosphere becoming lighter, the weight of confusion lifting, the energy of stagnation dissolving. And this shift is happening because both hearts have reached a point where truth can exist without fear and vulnerability can exist without collapse, and this readiness is powerful, because it allows connection to move forward in an honest, grounded way, not driven by fantasy or nostalgia, but by awareness and intention. And as this reveal phase unfolds, you may notice subtle but significant changes around you, conversations opening unexpectedly, opportunities presenting themselves naturally, emotional clarity arriving without force. And these moments may appear simple on the surface, yet they carry deep meaning, because they represent the universe responding to your growth, aligning circumstances with your emotional frequency, and frequency shapes experience, determining what enters your life and how it feels when it arrives, and your frequency has shifted through reflection, healing, and self-respect, allowing healthier interactions to form. And this is why the reveal will not feel chaotic, it will feel steady, intentional, and real. And real connection feels different from longing, it brings calm alongside excitement, warmth alongside clarity, and this emotional signature will guide you when the moment arrives, helping you recognize alignment without needing external validation. And this stage is also teaching you how to remain present during meaningful moments, not rushing ahead mentally, not replaying the past emotionally, but staying grounded in what is happening now. Because presence allows you to fully receive the experience without distortion, and distortion once came from fear, insecurity, or attachment, and now those patterns are dissolving, making space for authenticity. And authenticity is the foundation of genuine connection, because it allows two people to meet as they are rather than as they pretend to be, and this authenticity is what your soulmate has been craving beneath the silence, beneath the distance, beneath the emotional tension, not perfection, but truth, and truth is becoming easier to access now. Because emotional armor has softened, defenses have lowered, and awareness has expanded, and this expansion allows empathy to flow more freely, creating understanding where misunderstanding once lived, and understanding heals emotional wounds that words alone cannot reach. And as this reveal phase continues, you may feel an emotional opening inside you, the willingness to receive without suspicion, to listen without preparing defenses, to engage without expecting disappointment. And this openness is not naive, it is courageous, because it requires trust in yourself, trust in your growth, trust in your ability to navigate whatever unfolds, and this self-trust is becoming stronger now, guiding your responses and shaping your choices, and choices create pathways, and pathways determine direction, and the direction opening now is one of clarity rather than confusion, alignment rather than struggle, intention rather than reaction. And this shift is what marks the transition from healing into manifestation, the point where inner work begins producing visible change, and visible change may arrive as conversation, reconnection, emotional closure, or a new understanding that reshapes the dynamic between you, and whatever form it takes, it will reflect your evolution, not your old patterns, and this reflection is important, because it shows you how far you've come, how much you've grown, how much awareness you've integrated. And this awareness allows you to respond with maturity rather than habit, with compassion rather than defensiveness, with calm rather than anxiety, and these responses create new relational patterns that support healthier interaction, and as this phase deepens, you may notice your intuition becoming more active, offering subtle guidance about when to speak, when to listen, when to pause, when to move forward, and this guidance is not loud or dramatic, it is gentle, steady, grounded, and learning to trust it will help you navigate this reveal with wisdom, avoiding impulsive reactions and choosing thoughtful engagement instead, and thoughtful engagement allows emotional safety to remain intact, and safety is essential for vulnerability to exist comfortably, and vulnerability is what creates intimacy, not physical closeness alone, but emotional presence, honesty, and shared understanding, and this intimacy is what the universe has been preparing both of you for, not just reunion or closure, but emotional depth that supports growth, and this depth may feel unfamiliar at first, because it is calmer than past emotional intensity, but calm does not mean boring, it means stable, nourishing, and sustainable, and sustainability is what allows connection to evolve rather than burn out quickly, and this evolution is the purpose behind this entire journey, not repeating cycles, not recreating old wounds, but stepping into a new emotional chapter shaped by wisdom and self-awareness, and this chapter will not erase the past, but it will transform it into understanding, using past experiences as lessons rather than burdens, and this transformation is what creates emotional freedom, the ability to love without carrying old pain, to connect without losing self-respect, to open your heart without fear of collapse, and this freedom is becoming part of who you are now, shaping your identity, your boundaries, your expectations, and this identity shift is influencing your soulmate connection, encouraging higher standards of communication, honesty, and emotional responsibility, and as this reveal phase continues unfolding, you may feel a quiet sense of gratitude arising, appreciation for the growth you've experienced, the lessons you've learned, the strength you've developed, and gratitude is powerful, because it anchors you in the present moment, allowing you to receive what is happening without resistance, and resistance once delayed healing, and now openness is accelerating alignment. And alignment is guiding the next steps of your journey, whether that leads to reconnection, transformation, or peaceful release, and each path carries purpose, because each reflects your emotional evolution, and this evolution is what matters most, not the specific outcome, but the person you have become through the process, and as this reveal phase approaches completion, you may sense that something definitive is about to settle, a conversation reaching clarity, an emotional truth becoming visible, an understanding arriving that changes perspective, and this sense is calm rather than anxious, grounded rather than rushed, because it is rooted in readiness rather than desperation, and that grounded readiness is your sign that healing has matured into wisdom, that awareness has become embodiment, that growth has reshaped your emotional foundation, and this foundation will support whatever unfolds next, allowing you to move forward with strength, clarity, and emotional balance. And Part 8 ends here because this is the reveal stage, the moment where destiny begins showing. The outcome shaped by everything you have learned, healed, and integrated, preparing you for the final step of this soulmate journey and the new chapter waiting beyond this moment.